I'm now at Gortnatresk. This is known as the field of the Brewers Grains, and I wouldn't be surprised if when I listen to the story we're actually looking at the field of the Brewers Grains right now, which would have been the barley, maybe the oats, but definitely the barley. And I'll give you a wee look around. There's a very nice looking cottage up there. It looks like there's quite a bit of arable farmland around here. As I say, this is Gortnatresk. There's a stream here, so I don't know if there'll be a story about the stream, but easy enough to find and get to. Because this is the last day I'll probably be out amongst the Amach to the field doors. I'm trying to get to 4 of them today. This is my second one of the day. I'll be taking the phone number and giving my review of the story when I get home in my home studio. That probably does come into the story here is this marker stone, and this way shows the west and south. That's the south and east view, so this must be important in the storytelling. Fascinating how they've let the ivy grow up the ropes that's holding this door here. There's obviously been some planning here for a while. Very pretty place, lovely place to visit, and ample parking in the driveway. Keep yourself clear of the road. And quite a bubbling river here. I imagine this is going to come into the story as well. So I phoned up the phone number that was on the side of the door at Gortnatresk. There you see the door. Yeah, that door there. And what a lovely, gentle, fascinating recorded session there was from Mary Boland, the storyteller. And she tells us that she lives with her husband, Liam. They're on a farm that covers 3 townlands, and Gortnatresk is just one of them. Mary then further explained the translation of the townland's name. It's known as going into the field of the Brewers Grains. And Mary talked of a nearby 19th century corn mill. It's now in ruins. It is told that that corn mill, which by corn mill it means it received the barley, oats, wheat, whatever was grown. It's that corn mill, which is now in ruins, that received grains that were grown in the Gortnatresk townland. Now, it seems that Mary and Liam, they don't grow any crops anymore, and she did not explain any crops that were grown on any part of their farm now. But Mary did explain and emphasized that what the two of them work is an organic farm. And they go to great pains, great care on protecting the land's biodiversity. They do have some small, beautiful Kerry cattle. I didn't see them myself, but Mary was explaining this, and she describes them as being very intelligent and how the cows are excellent mothers. She said that they spend much of the time sheltering in the woods, and I must admit, as I looked around, there were nice little woodlands on the land. Then Mary went from that, talking about her Kerry cows, on to talking about the stream. And as I said in the other video clip, I bet the stream comes up in the storytelling, and there it is. And she explains about it running beside the door and how it actually joins to another river that's quite close by. And where they join, there's a cottage ruin there. So Mary then went on to talking about the former occupants, a little bit of information there. But she quickly moved on to talking more detail about their actual farmland, and they're very proud of their land there. She describes the land as actually being high-value grassland that is surrounded by thick hedges. Those hedges are very active for attracting birds who come there for their nesting. And she describes some of the bird species that are resident in the hedges, and this includes woodpeckers, which was a nice surprise. Mary then went on to talk about the water that runs through the farm, not just the rivers, and they're very careful. She talked about how they protect the water and its biodiversity, especially good, clean water flow encourages. And she went on to talking about the insects and moths and butterflies. And one thing, Mary is definitely very enthusiastic about butterflies. She named several species and a little bit about some of them in great detail. So there's a huge passion for the insects, especially the butterflies, any of the pollinators, really. And she talked more about the farm as well. Just another practice they're very strict with is they don't actually cut hay until August, which is quite unique, because when we get fine days in July, which is quite common, a lot of farmers get out there and cut the hay to actually store as silage, and some of it will be made into bales. August can be a very wet month, so it's taking a risk, but no, they leave their hay cutting until August. Mary says that this allows more time for the insects and the pollinators to actually have more time to do their work. And then Mary went on to talk about the woodland. She'd already mentioned it about the Kerry cows going for shelter and living there, explained how the native woodlands are small. They're quite small, but they're very old. She says some of them, all of them, are more than 100 years old, and they contain only native species. And they were woodlands that actually made themselves rather than be planted woodlands. And she says that within a couple of them, there are fairy ring forts. And she describes the many flowers, the species of flowers that actually grew within these ring forts. She talked about them with the same detail and same passion as she had talked about with the butterflies. But that rounds it all up, really. But Mary was emphasizing it's very important to protect these very unique lands of County Leitrim. Oh, she did go on to talk about the nearby buildings, especially a church and a school. And she talked about a nearby holy well that I didn't get to visit, I didn't get to see. It's called St. Mary's, but obviously I didn't get to go there. And then for the rest of the storytelling, Mary talked about her lifestyle, her love and a passion for how she lives. And she explains how working with the farmland, it actually slows her down, and it helps her to connect with all that is there. She then slides into talking about the influence of ancestors and how the ancestors of the land still kind of guide her to protect it and be connected to it. And then Mary moved on to the importance of local music and songs. She absolutely loves the music and songs, and describes how some of the songs and tunes are very much related to the local land, especially if they are songs and tunes from people who had to leave the land. And then finally, she talks about some of the local musicians, the bands they formed, where they performed, the whole storytelling from Mary of Gortnatresk and the other townlands they have on the farm. It was an incredible, colourful, gentle, real delight to listen to. I'm glad I visited there, and I hope you can find a bit of time. I know there's not long with the doors standing up, but if you can, get to Gortnatresk and hear Mary's stories for yourself. You'll be glad you did. Thank you. And thank you very much for watching this review, and I look forward to you joining me at the other reviews of the other two doors that I aim to try and get to today before it gets dark just after 4 o'clock.